I think this is my final honse video of this rather long series. This has been fun. I don't think I've drawn this many horses in such quick succession since I was 9 or 10. That line threw me off. Well, let's get on to the hippocampi. I was quickly running out of equine groups to turn into fantasy creatures until I realized that some horses are actually considered extinct. The Old English Black was a draft horse that heavily influenced the creation of Shires and Clydesdales, and they went extinct when their bloodlines merged into other breeds and could not be kept pure. I was going to base this hippocampi's fishy bits on the black dragonfish, but my brain was far too muddled to try and process what elements I should borrow and incorporate into my designs, so you get whatever the heck I can come up with. In this case, I went with what I would draw if I was asked to whip up a hippocampus as fast as I could. I added translucent fins, hoof fins, a larger fin for a mane, etc. Black and green really look well together in this case, and I followed my random inspiration spurts and just drew some bioluminescent patterns along its body. In the end, it really did end up looking somewhat like the black dragonfish, and I'm pretty happy with it. I changed up the pose and colors quite a bit before I settled with the final design, which is this. As I was finishing up, I was so worried that I would have to pose all my fish honses lying down or twisted up into pretzels. I was having so much doubt, and I'm honestly thankful to God that I was sane enough to come up with a more interesting pose than what is featured here for later works. While the quagga is closer to being part of the zebra family than the horse family, it is still under the extinct equine label. I do what I want. Looking at the quagga's color and patterns, I was struck with how similar to a whale shark its stripes are, and I couldn't resist. I decided to draw a whale shark quagga. The colors honestly turned out so well, but what really made me struggle were the strange ridges that traveled down the length of whale sharks. I'm a lines person. Lines tell me what to do, where to color, how to shade, but I felt that lines would only add confusion to the patterns and ridges I wanted to draw. So time for some experimentation. I was also struggling with ideas on how to make the quagga breed look different from the English Black, so I decided to experiment with leg fins of sorts. This entire drawing is just experimentation upon experimentation. I am no scientist, but boy do I experiment. After adding the chaotic glowy lines and settling on the pose, finally, I used shading on multiply layers going horizontally down the body to give the illusion of skin ridges. Then I added some highlights on some add layers on the edge between the multiply stripes and normal skin, giving the illusion of depth and skin folds. It's simple enough, but it really gives the illusion of sharp folds in the skin. And here we go, La Quagga. Who came up with this little guy's name? Kind of sounds like quack. Gonna interrupt this program for some likes and perhaps a subscription. It can be added to the subscribbler pile. That way I'll know you guys like what I came up with, and you'll be alerted when I next post. Thank you to all who obliged, and I appreciate your support. I'm gonna butcher this name so bad. The Narragansett Pacer's beautiful colors are what really drew me in, and I wanted to try something entirely different with this one's anatomy, textures, and pose. This time I copied the form and fins of a dolphin with its horizontal tails and muscular body, and I decided to make the front fins more similar to horse legs. I like to think of this lad's power to swim all coming from the tail, while the front fins are used to just fight, steer, walk along the seabed, and hoist itself out of shores to escape hunters or rest. I wanted to follow the pacer's color as closely as possible, and I really like the result. The yellow fades along the fins shine so nicely against the ruddy, coppery color of the body, and I also really wanted to experiment with spot patterns, and I added splashes of white along its face and legs, and I'm so pleased with it. It just brings about a bit more horse into the fishness of the design. Finally, please notice the actually stunning texturing I did with the honeycomb and decimal brushes. Look at the shiny scale. It just adds so much texture and visual interest, and I'm so pleased. I want to pet it. Technically my inspiration for the tail, but dolphins don't have scales, but yeah, I should really consider it. I mean, look at how pretty it's shiny. Shiny! As cool and beautiful as whale sharks and dolphins and black dragonfish are, I also really wanted to try making a hippocampus that mimicked tropical fish. Bright colors, wavy, elongated fins, yes please. This time I'm using the Irish hobby horse as a baseline for the head and body, and beta fish are my inspiration for the fins and tail. I wanted to try a dark bay color with bright neon orange accents, but it turned out more of a flaxen chestnut color if anything. Drawing semi-translucent fins is heckish when parts of the body pass below the fins and parts parts above. I was constantly adjusting the opacity, the colors, their placement among my layers. It just, you do not want to see my layers right now. It's a mess. I really wanted to try a gentle watercolor texturing, shading with multiply and highlights, add layers to make the fins look cool as though they had light passing through them. And also note again the gorgeous scaly texturing I did. It's so pleasing to look at for me. I just love the honey eater and decimal brushes. It's like, I don't know, stimming with your eyes. But anyway, the honeycomb and decimal, they're just so helpful with simplified, scaly texturing. Despite my struggles and experimentation, this turned out really super bright and awesome, and I love how the colors along the hippocampus's body bleed into one another with those scaly patches. It makes the drawing just seem that much more solid and lifelike. I played around with the ears a bit too, and I think these are really cute. I love how wavy and wibbly and jellyfishy the fins are, and I hope you like them just as much. During my research, I mistakenly assumed the Anglo-Norman horse was extinct. Thank you, experimental AI features, you suck. However, I wanted to try a unique combination, so I'm keeping this honse in my hippocampi lineup. I wanted to try a dark liver chestnut look, combining it with a translucent red fin. I'm again taking inspiration from a dolphin's build, posing, and fin formations, and I didn't realize how similar this and the Narragansett Pacer's poses were until I was finished. I'm also really experimenting with longer, tougher legs instead of fins on the front half, and I'm still entirely obsessed with the scaly texturing from before, so I am throwing this into the witch's cauldron that I may stir. This time I kept the fins rather plain in comparison to the Irish hobby's fins. I decided to keep the Anglo-Norman hippocampi very sleek, streamlined, fast-looking, very racehorse-esque. The fins are sharp curves, hugging close to the body to reduce drag and add control. The ears are small and kept close to the skull, and I wanted to try a red reptilian eye, and it turned out really nice. Honestly, 10 out of 10 hippocampi flavor here. Would draw again. Have any favorites yet? Put them in the comments. The Tarpon horse may be my favorite of the bunch, not because I'm emo and just like the colors, but shh. I'm also not exactly sure if it's extinct or not, given the sources were contradicting themselves, and I was far too tired to bother triple checking and like sifting through the stuff. Sorry guys, I'm bringing you misinformation, sue me. This hippocampus ended up being really unique and almost eel-like, and I really like it. I tried to stick with the Tarpon horse's signature colors, which is Grula, I think. Grula is a gray coat color with black points on the mane, muzzle, tail, and legs. The Tarpon has a super cool white patch of hair running through their manes sometimes, it seems, making it like a frosted color that mixes really well with the black. I think they can also have primitive markings along their legs, but I could be wrong about that. I added it anyway. Either way, I wanted to have some really cool stripe patterns, and I wanted to try my ridge painting technique again. I also tried making a strong action line before drawing the details, and it turned out cool. It's a new angle, and it's an odd angle, honestly, but I think I did pretty darn good. I almost added some experimental water patterns along its back, but I decided to keep the original layout I made with the other hippocampi. I think this one turned out super cool. I'm pleased with the colors, the pose, the distinct line of action. I really like it. If anything, I might have changed the front fins to something a little different, but they still fit with the overall design. He looking a little emo. Well, that does it. Do you like my hippocampi? If you had to choose one to cross the ocean with, which one would it be? Thanks for staying this long if you did. Maybe check out the rest of my videos in this series. Wink wonk. Horses are such versatile creatures. They're entrenched so deeply into mythology and legend, and it's awesome how malleable they are. You can do so much with a honse. Just take honse. Combine it with anything else, you have a Greek god or whatever. Anyway, time to go.